The 49ers special teams makeover continues under Brant Boyer. Plus, are we sure that Isaac Orendo is going to be RB2 this year? We're going to take a deep dive into the film of Jordan James and see if he can't steal that job away, backing up Christian McCaffrey. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard 49ers podcast. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. It is Thursday. You know what that means. Johnny Dell is here from Johnny Dell's Football Academy. Good to have you back, sir. We missed you last week.
Oh, it is good to be back. Just had an appointment last week that I couldn't move, but it is good to be back with you in this show and talking 49ers. I feel like it's been a long time since I've talked 49ers and some things have happened.
Things have happened, and we are going to get to the Jordan James film breakdown in a couple of minutes. I'll have a timestamp in so you can click to jump right there if you're not interested. But before we get to the Jordan James stuff, I do want to talk about the makeover that is happening with the 49ers defense and special teams. Mitch Wishnowsky got the boot. See what I did there? He is officially gone. Thomas Morstead is in, Johnny. And the thing that I have noticed basically is that the 49ers have told Robert Saleh and Brant Boyer, just get your guys. Whoever you want, get your guys. Chaz Surratt, the linebacker, is here now. He was a big Saleh guy in New York. The long snapper the Niners had in Tabor Pepper is gone. The punter the Niners had in Mitch Wishnowsky is gone. The kicker the Niners have had in Jake Moody may be gone, depending on the competition. But they have basically said to the non-Shanahan parts of this team, just do whatever you want.
Absolutely. I mean, they've basically said, special teams was an issue last year, and we've been talking about it for years, right? That 49ers special teams was costing them games. You go back to the Super Bowl. I mean, the moment that changed that Super Bowl, we all talk about the end of the game and the blown block and letting Chris Jones through. The only time that Kansas City had scored up until their last drive, had scored a touchdown, was off a muff punt. And so, special teams has been an issue. It has cost the 49ers games. It cost them multiple games last year. And this seems like a wholesale willingness to finally say, we're not just going to let things be as they have been, and we're going to change special teams. Special teams has to change.
And I think it clearly is going to this year. They brought in a whole bunch of people that can have significant experience playing special team snaps. New holder now, because Mitch Wishnowsky was the holder. I don't know who that's going to be, actually. I wonder if it'll be Thomas Morstead. I actually don't know if he has experience as a holder. I know Juice was the backup holder, who anytime he was called upon, he actually did a good job doing it. But we will see. But look, you can't say that they have not taken special teams seriously this offseason, right? I mean, they have revamped it from every which way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it wasn't like Mitch Wishnowsky had a great season last year. I know he was hurt, but even if you just look at yards per punt, he was 30th in the NFL. So that's not good enough. When you look at the issues that Brant Boyer had talked about with Jake Moody, he'd said that he wasn't feeling as comfortable with his plant legs, and it was something I think I posted a clip last year, one of his misses, and I had put it in at 50% speed, and I just put it out there. I said, okay, who knows more about kicking? I don't know about the technical aspects of kicking. The library green screen is wild. I'm in my wife's office at home because she had an appointment, and I got 3 kids on the other side of the wall. Hopefully one of them doesn't pop in the library. But they were talking about that Jake Moody just wasn't feeling as confident. So, it does the fact that you're 30th in the NFL, you better be a really good punter if you're also expected to be the holder and you're not doing well at that job either. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I know I put it out there and several people said it looks like he's not as confident on that plant leg. Was it the high ankle sprain? Was it the snaps? Was it the holding? What's going on in practice? Something has caused a wholesale change, and that's long snapper. That's Wishnowsky out and competition for Jake Moody. So whatever it is, they're saying special teams was not good enough.
It would just be really nice if that unit became something that could contribute to victories instead of being something an additional thing that the 49ers had to overcome. And for too long in recent years, it was something they had to overcome. Hopefully, with Brant Boyer now pulling the strings and all the changes that they have made, it turns into that this season. Of course, we will see. All right, now let's get into the Jordan James breakdown, because the Niners have 11 rookies. We've been trying to do film breakdowns every week. We're still working our way through this giant rookie class that they have on the team. I have never been convinced that Garendo was going to be a thing, quite frankly. I was not super impressed with him last year. I know he broke some big runs, and I think it's entirely possible that Jordan James becomes RB2 this season. Is that crazy?
I don't think it's crazy at all, because I feel like he's more NFL ready than Isaac Garendo was. Isaac Garendo, when he was brought in, he was expected to be maybe a fourth guy on the depth chart, and maybe even really brought in to be a return guy, with the way that the NFL rule changes were going to be of making the kickoff return more of an actual play. And so, he's got the home run speed. And so it's somebody you can use as maybe a third down back, receiving back that has that home run speed and can be your returner. But then Elijah Mitchell, so many issues with him staying healthy. When he's been with the 49ers, he's out. Christian McCaffrey's out. Jordan Mason gets the shoulder injury. And suddenly Garendo, who was probably only supposed to be a role player at best, is put to be your running back number one. I don't think he was ever even meant to be running back number two. And so there was a huge drop off in the efficiency of the run game, in everything. Yes, he had some big runs, but there was so much meat left on the table. And we're going to look at least one of the specific issues when it comes later. But when we look at Jordan James here, he's there at Oregon. He shows a lot of the traits that you want in a running back in our system. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can block in the passing game. And he doesn't go down easily. He gets yards after contact. And so who does that sound like? That sounds like Christian McCaffrey. Again, he's not the player that Christian McCaffrey is, but we're going to see him here. They're going to run just a little swing pass here. And you can see matched up on the linebacker who's got to try and beat him over there, that he becomes a mismatch out of the backfield, as you can get the ball in his hands and he can beat the linebacker to the edge. And that's what we see exactly here. He's going to be tracked by number 6 here. That's whose task was staying with him. And he's able to get on the move, beat him to the corner, and that's who he beats. So you can use him as a mismatch on the edge, on the perimeters, and use him in the pass game, much like we do.
And he looked very smooth and fluid, caught the ball in stride, didn't really lose any acceleration. And we know the Niners like to throw the ball to running backs out of the backfield. I actually think Brock was a little hesitant at times to throw to running backs that weren't Christian McCaffrey. So if you can get another guy in there that inspires the confidence in him to actually throw to other running backs besides CMC, I feel like that'll just help keep the offense moving ahead of the chains.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So he brings that ability as a weapon out of the backfield. He also brings versatility that the 49ers have done this all the time. We've seen it was Jeff Wilson started it as being a running back in the backfield that could be a lead blocker. And we've used Christian McCaffrey for that. We'll run these wide receiver sweeps and we'll take the running back and ask him to go block. And Isaac Garendo, we asked him to do it a couple times, wasn't the most shining example. You're going to see Jordan James here. He's going to take this and watch the physicality he brings. Same linebacker. I mean, you see the linebacker get rocked. When you see this chest plate shake, you know the guy got hit pretty good. And so we're going to see it out here. This is Jordan James. He's going to identify who he's got to go block, and he's going to go pick up the linebacker. This is one of those I'm not worried about. Oh, man, that's great. He puts the shoulder right into his chest plate, and you see the shake. Let's just look at it right here.
And the thing I like about it, too, is he starts in the shotgun on the quarterback's hip, and he tracks all the way across the field, works through the traffic a little bit, identifies the guy he's got to hit, and then doesn't just, just get in the way. Like you said, he's delivering a blow in that clip.
Yeah, and these are the clips that, again, I don't worry about the result of everybody else on the play. We're looking at Jordan James, and what Jordan James does in his job is fantastic. It's something that the 49ers will ask him to do. I like to try and find clips of guys being asked to do things that the 49ers will ask them to do. Not just, it's one thing if a guy gets an explosive run on a type of play we never run.
Right.
I don't care about that as much. I want to see them do what we ask them to do. And so you're going to see that here as well. He's in shotgun off the quarterback, and you're going to see him run a seam route. Okay, they're going to run what's called a divide concept. So they're going to take a post route from a tight end, and then the running back's going to trail in behind that. So the tight end will clear this out, and he's got to work down the seam. He's got to get inside a hook curl defender that's going to be there. I love his awareness of the zones here. That's something that we haven't seen from both Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerrero. I didn't see their awareness of where their routes are supposed to be in within the scheme of the defense. And so you're going to see him settle it down. I love this route. So there's, again, most people look at this and say, okay, big deal. He kind of ran out there, but it's the patience. He's not running full speed, and he's doing that to keep his spacing. I watched Isaac Guerrero run some of these, and he would just bust out here full speed, and he'd be right on the tight end's hip. And you lose your spacing. You got to get spacing on these things. You got to get the tight end out. He's got to carry guys out. You got to allow this outside guy to get widened, and you got to work underneath and then settle down into this void. But you got to have the spacing between these, or else everything gets so crowded and you'd make life harder for your quarterback. And so he's going to understand the timing of it. He understands once he gets past the first level defender, the eyes turn to the quarterback. He understands that this is being cleared out, and he's going to have his hole is going to be in here. And so the awareness is there. The eyes turn to the quarterback. The quarterback's able to find him. Quarterback's even a little bit late on the throw, but like that's a play that I go, okay, Brock, we're going to run that play, and Brock Purdy's going to let this ball go right about here. Brock Purdy's going to lay this out here, and it's going to be caught, and then you're down the seam, and you might have a touchdown, because we've seen Brock do that. And so I get excited when I see something like this. I go, okay, you can put a guy in the backfield. It reminds me of Coleman, right? When he was with us with the 49ers.
The thing I like about these clips is I feel like they are looking at things that the 49ers look at. I think often when we look at running backs, and especially guys the 49ers have drafted, right, we look at the runs, which makes sense. They're fun to watch. They're easy to evaluate. They're easy to get excited about. But the 49ers are looking at things that are bigger than just straight up handoffs, right? They are looking at the blocking, like you pointed out earlier. They're looking at the route running and things like this because of how they want to use their running backs in their system. And let's just be real. The reason that they don't ever take Christian McCaffrey off the field is because they don't think that there is another running back on the roster that can do these type of things. And Kyle thinks the offense really suffers when he doesn't have that sort of optionality. So they just keep Christian McCaffrey in there. Well, we know that dog ain't going to hunt much longer. Christian McCaffrey's 29 years old, and they're going to need to be careful with him. And if you have a guy like Jordan James that can do some of those things, it makes it easier to take Christian McCaffrey off the field and save him for later in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll try and make this fairly brief and not get, too glossy-eyed with everybody. But when defenses can't respect your running backs as understanding zones and things, they will change the way they play defense. And so, this isn't necessarily what's being run by the defense, but I'm just going to use this view as an example. Okay. If a team is out here in cover 3 zone, a lot of times what you see in the NFL is you're going to have 3 deep and 4 underneath. Okay. And the challenge is, how do you match the 3 receiver side? How do you account for that on the 3 receiver side as the defense? And so one thing that defenses will do, and a lot of the NFL will do, is because your weak spots are going to be in your seams and over the middle. That's where your weak spots are. And a lot of teams really try and attack the seam. And that's what Oregon does here. So what teams will do is they'll do one of 2 things. They'll say, okay, who is my best matchup on that running back? And if it's my safety who's going to be here, what I'm going to do is, if the number 2, which is not a running back, if he runs vertical, I'm going to have my linebacker trail him. And what I'm going to do then is ask my safety to match the running back when he comes out of the backfield. So that's what they'll do sometimes. If they say, okay, we're not as worried about that guy, what they're going to do is say, oh, okay, my safety who's here playing curl flat. If they go vertical from the number 2, I'm going to have my safety carry that down the seam, and then I'm going to ask my linebacker to go match this running back. This was one of the big differences that we saw in the defense with Steve Wilks, was that Steve Wilks did not like asking Dre Greenlaw and linebackers to match running backs from this spot. And so they were constantly, we used to see Dre Greenlaw chasing things down on the sideline out here. And suddenly with Wilks, we didn't see that. We saw it was Jair Brown and Hufanga. And Hufanga went and tore his ACL out in the flat, right? It was because we changed how this worked. All that to say, what you need is a guy who understands that, because if you're running this down here, and we run a lot of these where we'll run a clear and then we run an option route. And so what you see is that this running back has to be able to identify which one of these guys is carrying, and I'm going to break to their zone. So if it's a safety, I'm going to break outside. If it's the linebacker, I'm going to break inside. And so the option routes aren't based upon necessarily leverage of the guy who's playing against you. It's what role in the defense were they playing. So you have to be able to understand the defense, what they're playing, and make your option routes off of that. Mason struggled with that. Garendo struggled with that. CMC was phenomenal with that. And so when you suddenly have a guy that can't identify that as much, that means defenses can play more games. They can actually sometimes make it more simple. And I'm sorry if you hear my kids in the background. I told them to be quiet. They're excited because school's out.
Damn, already?
Suddenly, yeah. Alabama, our school's out at the end of May. So yeah. I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with school out in June. So it's definitely a thing here. But anyways, so like the ability of a guy to identify these things, and we're going to see this with this next clip. I say all of that to say, that's one reason you see Christian McCaffrey, or not this next clip. I have it on the next set of clips. You just don't see Christian McCaffrey come out the field. But here you're going to see he's got great vision. They're trying to run this up the middle. It's going to get clogged up. He's going to try and take off, and then he's going to see daylight and break back through the middle. And you see, this is patience. He's not in a hurry, but when he wants to go, he goes. And so the play, it's busted up at the beginning. He's not in a hurry. You see that so much with running backs. They get in a hurry, and they say, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. And he stays. It's calm. He sees, it's plugged up. I'm going to try and break out. Nope, that's gone. And he can tuck in behind his linebackers, wait for the hole to open up. And he goes and gets 10 yards on a play that looked like it was dead. So, I like the vision. The way he sees the field is really great. And he's got really good lateral movement. So you're going to see him take this run up the middle and watch this jump cut. I'm going to run it in full speed so we can watch it. He's going to have a guy pop in the flash in the hole. And he's going to make a jump cut here that is just wicked. Gets in here, pow, and gets vertical. I love it because when he makes these cuts, he's working to get vertical. He's not just wasting time. It's when it's there, he commits to it. So once it's there, you're going to see him follow his lead blocker. Nope, I'm out. And he goes, and he's a load to bring down. I don't ever remember seeing somebody stop him within 1 yard of contact being made. Like, we'll see that too with some of these clips, yards after contact.
The thing too with Jordan James and this system is the patience is really the thing that I think is hardest for a lot of young players to get. Chris Forster, I think it was last year, talked a lot about this because we were all focused on Garendo. And he talked about one of the hardest things for guys to learn is just waiting that extra second. Because remember, you're running outside zone a lot of the times. You choose as the running back which hole you're going to go through. But a lot of times you have to wait just a little bit longer than you think for the right one to open up. And a lot of running backs have a hard time adjusting to that because they just want to go, like you talked about. And so that's why sometimes it takes a minute for Niners running backs to catch on. If that patience is something that Jordan James has, I think that'll help sort of ease the transition if he is going to become RB2 and get in the lineup early.
Exactly. And so what I was talking about earlier, this next clip, we're going to see Garendo here. And this is a prime example of why they don't like to take Christian McCaffrey off the field. So it's 2nd and 9. It's a close game against the Buccaneers. Now, this is a game that the 49ers barely won, right? So this is 2nd and 9. You're down at the 10-yard line, 9-yard line. This is really important time. And Christian McCaffrey had been playing like 95% of the snaps up to this point in the game. So they're trying to give him a blow. This is in the third quarter. Well, they're going to first motion Isaac Guerrero out. Okay. So one thing we have to understand is that Guerrero's on the weak side. You have Kittle, Debo, and Pearsall to the strong side. So there's 3 receivers on away from Guerrero. He's on the 2 receiver side. So what they want to do is that means they're most likely going to have a man beater from Jennings on the 2 receiver side, and they're going to run a passing concept with the 3 receiver side. So if you have a guy that's got to stay in the block, it's going to be on the weak side. That's who you're going to keep in the block. They motion him out because they're trying to give a defined look for Brock Purdy. So in response to the empty backfield, you're going to see a check by the Buccaneers, and they're going to walk guys up. Okay, you see Lavonte David's kind of lurking here. You have a slot guy that's lurking. You have an end that's lurking. You have another linebacker that's lurking. So you've got lots of threats here. Only 2 guys with their hands in the dirt. Okay. So what the 49ers are going to do here is Jake Brendel's going to see this, and he's going to say, okay, I have 1, 2, 3 threats to my strong side where I have to let George Kittle out in the route. So to block 3 threats, I've got to slide to that side. So I get 3 bigs to that side because I got Guerrero on the backside, and I can then assign him to pick up a threat if they bring 3 from the other side. So now this is a way that we can account for every threat. We have a way to do that. Guerrero is going to be on a check and release. That means if they come with pressure, then he's going to pick up that pressure. If they don't, then he releases. He's going to chip and release. So this is what his assignment is. And you're going to see Trent Williams kind of peeks back over here at Guerrero, says, okay, he's there. I know that if Lavonte David comes, because he's presenting as a threat, that I'm going to pick up Lavonte David. Aaron Banks is going to pick up the defensive tackle, and Guerrero will pick up the end. And what ends up happening here is as David walks up, he's going to come. So Trent Williams slides in. Guerrero goes to check. He should pick him up. But what ends up happening is he says, okay, I'm on a check and release. And he just releases out into the flat.
So he doesn't block for long enough.
No, he was supposed to stay in the block. And one of the keys that you can say, well, Johnny, how do you know that? Watch Trent Williams' reaction on this play. He's going to, and he's going to walk to the sideline and motion for McCaffrey to come back in. He's going to turn around. Oh, he's hot. He's mad. And you're going to see him motion to the sideline. McCaffrey, come back in.
Well, and he looks over at Guerrero and he kind of puts his hand up like, dude. And this is why they struggled in the red zone is stuff like this. It's plays like little things like that don't give Brock Purdy enough time to find somebody open. And now all of a sudden you're kicking a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown, and these games stay close.
And you're kicking a field goal in a game where your kicker misses 3 field goals.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
And so, again, people will say, well, why did we slide the way it is? Well, again, you have threat. Well, let me do this in white so we can see. You have 3 threats to one side, 3 threats to the other side. So to account for that, you've got to slide the center. You're going to slide the center over, and you're going to pick this up. And again, the option is going to be if Lavonte David comes. If he backs out, Trent's going to pick up the end. That's why he's initially got to chip him. He's got to protect Trent from a speed rush if David doesn't come on a blitz. If he does, he's got to step down and take him on.
And you have it paused at the perfect. Trent is staring at Isaac Guerrero right now. He's looking right at him. Come on, dude. You seeing what I'm seeing? Yeah.
And you can see him. Then he sees the movement. He checks on David. He's going, okay, this is most likely he's coming. I got to be ready for this. So Trent's going to have a short set here. He's not going to protect against the speed rush. That's why they got to have a chip here. So in this, then, again, now this is part of Todd Bowles. He's a good defensive coordinator. He's going to back out 2 to the side that we slide to. So you have 3 blockers on one guy. That's not a scheme issue. That is, this defensive coaches get paid to coach as well. You have a way to still account for everything, and they're going to bring 3 away from it. You have the numbers to block this. You can do it. Like, you can make this happen, but they're only bringing 4. This is only a 4-man rush, and you're going to get a guy essentially just chipped and straight at Purdy. So this isn't on Brock. You can't say, well, the quarterback's got to throw it hot. He's supposed to be protected there. It's only a 4-man rush. Hots are only for like 5 and 6-man rushes, not 4.
So then how does this relate back to Jordan James?
Okay, sorry. So these are some of the protection issues you see with Isaac Guerendo. And I said the previous 2 clips, I'm going to do these in order again to compare. I was talking about the ability to read the defense and understand what they're doing within their zones. You're going to see Jordan James come on a little release out here. So what he's got is he's got an option. He can either sit down or he's got to go to the sideline on this pass play out of the backfield. He's going to come up here. I want you to watch what he does. He's going to sit down, and then I tried to pause it there because the little peek that I love. He's going to peek and make sure where is the defense. So he's checking they're out there. So I'm going to sit. He's not just coming out here and running and going wherever. He's making sure I got a guy there. So I'm going to sit and then work back to the middle of the field if the quarterback checks it down to me, which he does. And so then he takes off back to the middle of the field. That is awareness of what the defense is doing that we didn't see from Guerendo and Mason. Okay, now here, to get to this pass protection, he's in shotgun, and he's got they're in a jet protection. What this means is that Jordan James has got to protect against the widest man coming on pressure. Okay, so he's going to start from this side, and then he's got to scan backside. And watch him work this. You're going to see he scans. He gave a little peek, and then he's scanning. Watch him work. He's going to step over. He's going to scan. And then watch this last one. He's going to scan and pick up a slot blitzer from the opposite side and go get him. Now, again, I don't care about the result of this play because that's on other blocking issues. Yes, the quarterback gets sacked. I don't care about that. I care about that Jordan James did something that I have not seen some of our running backs other than Christian McCaffrey do in quite a while. Brock Purdy there was a play we could have hit Brandon Ayuk for a huge gain against the Browns 2023, and Jordan Mason was on this exact protection. He blew the block off the end. It wasn't picked up, and Brock Purdy had to end up scrambling out, running, and threw it, and it was an incompletion, and Brandon Ayuk was wide open over the middle of the field, and we lost that game against the Browns. But here you see him scan, and then go pick it up. I love that. That is what we haven't seen.
He literally scans the whole level of the defense and slides completely to the other side of the field and then picks up the guy on the outside.
Yeah. So love it. Love what I see there. Then, our bread and butter, they're going to run a wide zone. And something I saw from Guerendo all the time, he was and you saw this from Jordan Mason at times too quick to cut it back. So these guys would get out here, the third step, they're supposed to make their read, and the fifth step, they're supposed to cut. That's how Gibbs used to teach the wide zone. And what you would see is guys on that third step, you'd see the helmet stripe, that helmet point straight up field, and they were cutting it back. And we saw this with a Guerendo. You'd see that stripe, that gold stripe turn right at 3 steps. He was just like assuming it was going to be a cutback. Here, he sticks with it. I like it. He's going to read it. Okay, I don't need to cut this back. And he goes and gets it. Like that, it seems so simple, but again, in that wide zone, running backs love to cut it up in way too quickly. And you see he's reading it, and goes. I love that. And it just gives me a lot of hope for, again, the things that the 49ers are going to ask him to do. You're going to see him keep his helmet to the point. He doesn't turn that head up. I mean, you could make an argument he could try and squeeze in there, but he's reading this block. He's actually reading his block. He's not just setting it up and saying, I'm going to expect that it gets cut up. And then good things happen when you do that. Again, doesn't go down at first contact.
And I know, and I was definitely guilty of this. So I want to just make sure I state that I was totally seduced by Guerendo and the size, weight, speed combination. Like all the traits are great. But if you don't do the things that you're showing Jordan James do here, you don't get to use those as much because you have to make the right reads. You have to pick the right hole and the right time to cut it back. And I know Jordan James is not like a home run guy, but You give me a guy that's consistently going to make the right decisions and pick up the yards that are blocked to be there, and that's a guy that's going to play for a long time in this system.
100%. 100%.
We got a super chat from Oscar Alfaro says, Johnny, do you see CMC playing the Joker role with James and Kiner as the split backs? Also, don't see Juice playing much unless we're in 12 personnel. So, first of all, what is the Joker role?
Well, it just depends on the system. It's kind of an everywhere role. Somebody who can be used as a chess piece to move around with the defense. I would say, I think they're already trying to use Christian McCaffrey in a way that they want to make defenses commit to a certain thing. So we saw a lot of this play action, especially at the beginning of last year. Once Christian McCaffrey was done with the knee injury and he was not coming back, Kyle suddenly went to a lot more play action, right? Same passing concepts, just now you're doing them with a run fake instead of a drop back pass. One of the reasons we saw them go to more drop back passing is that teams, Christian McCaffrey is such a threat with the ball in his hands and such a mismatch underneath and all those different matching zones and stuff. Teams, you would see this vertical movement as if it was a run fake. Linebackers weren't dropping deep. They were keeping them close to the line of scrimmage. So you didn't have to ask Purdy to turn his back. You were still going to get those linebackers that came down. And so, and you could move Christian McCaffrey out and you would see like safeties would shift, linebackers would shift, and you would get these shifts over. And so I think they're going to continue to use him in that role. What I think Jordan James provides is that you have a little bit more security of that we can still have everything in our playbook when Christian McCaffrey's off the field. It seemed like there was very much a package of plays. Like the entire playbook is there when Christian McCaffrey's on the field. And now we have like a 12 play package when he's not on the field that we feel really comfortable with. And this just allows you to have more of that.
All right, there you go. Thank you very much, Oscar, for the super chat. We appreciate it. Continue with the lecture.
So this one, again, from the end zone, I just want to show it because sometimes, you see something from the end zone and you go, or the broadcast, you go, okay, I mean, that's, he got a decent run there, about 8 yards. That's not too bad. But when we watch it from the end zone, watch this block. They're going to try and do a duo block on the 2I here, the defensive tackle, and they blow this block, and he's going to be right in the hole. I mean, the guy's whoop. I mean, he's staring at Jordan James. So the guy that can take this, still squeeze through this hole, has the power to break arm tackles of defensive tackles, is somebody that can really do something. So, you like that. How many times do we see that with different running backs, blocking up front would have to be perfect for them to get through? If not, it was like a 1 yard gain. You see the guy can make yards when the blocking is not perfect, runs through arm tackles. I love it. He's a load. So there's that. You're going to see him here with another great blitz pickup. He's same thing. He's got a scan and we saw Garendo get blown up on a couple of these pickups here. But he's going to scan, and you're going to see him pick this up here. They're coming with a double A gap blitz. So they're coming with a double blast is what we a lot of times call. And watch James come pick this linebacker up. Watch the physicality he brings in the pass pro. Bow. Oh, I love it. He rocked the guy. Okay. He's not shy in pass pro. That's what I love. He can pick it up. He can scan it, and he's physical in it. I mean, dude's a load. He's pretty hefty, and he plays with his weight.
That is impressive, and we know how much blocking matters to Kyle Shanahan. Whether you're a wide receiver, whether you're a running back, tight end, doesn't matter. If you don't block, you're not going to see the field. So it's nice to see not only that he's understanding, visually where to go, but also the actual execution, the physical part of the game is not lacking as well.
Yeah. And again, thing that just pops off the tape is the vision. They're going to try and run this ball inside, and defensive tackle is going to beat his guard, but he's able to not just stick with it. They run a little game out there. He's not just going to stick with it. He's going to end up being able to make this cut, see it. This is a lot harder. Like, it's easy for us when we, I pause it and rewind it to say, okay, yeah, there was a giant hole here. It is really hard within that helmet to see. You lose a lot of your peripheral vision, and to be able to see these things and see them in real time and make it happen, to be able to make that cut and then go get yards. You just see it all the time from him. Like, he has the vision to make the cuts, that it's there. You love, it's not every running back you see this stuff from. You see that, okay, he has a vision, not just to make random cuts, but cuts to the right holes and that are there, and then is physical and is a load to bring down. And this last one, I put again because it really highlights the yards after contact. And I kept this from the all 22 because it's easier to see where contact is made. Okay, so contact is made at the 47-yard line of Oregon. Okay, so this is Oregon's, and I believe this is Idaho over here. At Oregon's 47. Watch this play just keep going. Keep going. And keep going. And keep going. Keep going. Okay, here's where the line judge spotted it at the 46 of Idaho. So that is 7 yards from contact, where contact was made, to where the tackle was called in a scrum. Like, this wasn't a single guy. You'll see it from the end zone. This is a mosh pit basically that's in here. And so when I say like yards after contact, the dude just gets yards. So this is at the 47 contact is made.
He's just squeezing every possible yard there is to gain out of the run.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't like, all of his other linemen are getting in here. It's pretty much him and one other guy versus 5 and 6 other defenders, and just getting to 7 yards after contact. So I love the way he runs. I love a lot of what he brings.
You got me convinced. And I'll say this, I think that we get caught up in this sometimes, but I understand why Frank Gore liked him, because to me, he does a lot of the things that Frank did well. Vision probably being Frank Gore's strongest asset. And Frank wasn't a home run hitter either after all the knee injuries that he went through. He was, and then he lost that due to tearing his ACL twice in like 18 months. But it's a similar running style in that it's vision, it's squeezing through holes, it's choosing the right holes to go through, and then of course being physical at the point of attack and breaking tackles. So I do really think that there's a big opportunity for Jordan James to be RB2 next year. And I think that might help Guerendo too, right? Put Guerendo in that kind of change of pace, like a home run hitter type of role. He can come in and do some things. And I think that, he can break off a couple of big plays too. Like, there's a spot for him on this team. Mm-hmm. But I actually think Jordan James to me just seems more consistent.
100%. And I see more of the things that we ask guys to do that he already has it. You're not asking him to come in and learn all these new things that he didn't show and wasn't asked to do in college. I think we tend to see the 49ers will course correct each year, based upon what they were burned at the previous year with players. Like, they got burned with a lot of high athletic profile, low experience guys in the 2023 draft. And then for 2024, they went like all guys who had lots of starts. And so I think, with one exception being like Isaac Guerendo, I think he had the fewest starts of any draft pick. And so then they looked at it again this year and they said, okay, we got to find a guy who is asked to do what we want them to do. So they're not having this massive learning curve, because we thought we were going to have him as, a 5 play a game back. And all of a sudden he's now our starting running back. So yeah, I think they want somebody who comes in a little bit more pro ready.
We were 1 play away from Israel Abanikanda being the starting running back last year. No, thank you. But
boy.
That's always a philosophy that I have had with draft picks. Don't draft them and then make them change and do something they don't have experience doing. Like, I think it was either Trey Sermon or it was Ty Davis Price. One of the running backs they took in the 3rd round, they were like, oh yeah, we had to change his running style. And I'm like, well, then why the hell did you draft that guy? That doesn't make any sense. Don't do that. Let them do the thing that they're already doing. And hopefully Jordan James, that smooths the transition out and he can get on the field. One of the many things I'm keeping my eye on during OTAs and more so training camp is How do these guys adjust? Are the position battles working out? How are they working out? And we, of course, will be here through all of it. We got another super chat before we go, Johnny. Chris Waddell, huge supporter of the channel. Thank you, Chris. That's a generous super chat. Says, not to derail the episode, but I wanted to ask for this new show if you guys could break down why Kyle's offense historically has struggled in the red zone. Was looking into that recently, and it's rough. It's a very good suggestion. Thank you, Chris. It is true that basically, except for 2023, the red zone offense for Kyle has been a bit of an issue. His offenses are usually up there in yards. When it comes to points, they're not as successful. So I do think it's worth breaking down. And we actually did do a little bit of that today with the Garendo play that you brought up.
Yeah. And I think, again, the biggest change you see in there, and you go, okay, what changed in 2023? What was different? Well, you had Christian McCaffrey for the entire year.
Yep.
I mean, in 2022, when they got Christian McCaffrey, their red zone scoring percentage went way up. I mean, it was like 7 points a game more they were scoring once they got Christian McCaffrey, which, I mean, that's a red zone trip touchdown, right? That's what they were getting with Christian McCaffrey than without him. And so 2024, you have him for the entire season, and he can, and people say again, why do you leave Christian McCaffrey in there all the time? Well, when your metrics tell you that when he's on the field, our entire offense as a whole gets so much better, it's really hard to at any point say, well, we're okay with less production on this play. Like, it's just really hard to do that. Or say we're okay with telling the defense we're only going to run, these 18 plays, or something like that. So I think a lot of it comes down to that you have now, again, I think there can be an argument for that. If your offense is solely predicated on having Christian McCaffrey on the field to be able to score, you have some issues. I think there is some of that. I think that that comes down to your offensive line. And so, if you don't have an offensive line that can carry that, when you don't have a Christian McCaffrey, you can still score and you can still run the ball. Because that was a big problem I saw last year, is that we struggled so much in red zone running. Like, our rushing production in the red zone fell off a cliff. So you're going, okay, that's helped because you have Christian McCaffrey on the field before. Now that you don't have him, your offensive line is getting exposed for being a poor red zone offensive line. That hasn't really been addressed. So I still have concerns that if Christian McCaffrey's not there for whatever reason, or you can't have him not there, if that makes sense, then your red zone production will suffer. So I think that's a lot of what it comes down to, is that, somewhere in there, they've got to be better. Either be able to have better production when Christian McCaffrey's not on the field, or the offensive line has got to get better production. I think that's the core of it, though.
The running game in the red zone last year was so frustrating. It felt like every time they got in the red zone, it was first down run, and it was just like wasting a play because they would gain nothing. And then I knew Kyle wasn't going for it on fourth down, so it was like, all right, we got 2 shots at this in real life, because I know we're just burning a play. It's like in poker where they burn the card before they do like the dealer deals. They always burn that one card. That's what it felt like with the running plays in the red zone. It was maddening. So I hope it gets better, regardless of, it's got to get better whether it's Christian or somebody else running the ball. But maybe that's something that we could take a look at in our next show, is some of the red zone issues, because I do think it's definitely worth diving into, because it haunted this team last year. That is going to do it for this edition of the show, everybody. Thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Johnny Dale Football Academy on YouTube as well if you want many more film breakdowns like this one. Kyle Shanahan will speak later today after practice, so I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about. Players will speak as well, so we're going to have some news coming out of the facility today. I wanted to give a quick little film breakdown before all that stuff happened. Johnny, thank you so much, man. Looking forward to another show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.